friends, Pastor Randy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. Great to be with you today on this beautiful Tuesday. Hope you're well wherever you may be. Started a brand new teaching yesterday. So if you caught the introduction, we're going to be looking at what is the church, who is the church, and why does it matter? So we're going to start that lesson today. Again, and I want to preface this. I want everybody to understand the intent of these lessons that are coming up over the next several days, weeks, however long it takes, is to look deeply, not at just merely defining a word, okay? And it's also not meant to be in any negative light, but rather a directive light. And by that, I simply mean, okay, when we're driving, when we have traffic signals, green means go, red means stop. What do we determine? What do we think of? What do we picture when we hear that word? Okay? Typically when we hear the word church, all right, we automatically our mind goes to whatever local place of worship you have in your community. All right? Whether it's the Baptist or the Catholic or the Pentecostals or all the different names on the building. All right. In fact, there's probably too many to mention. Just here alone in the county, not just the county, not the state, just the county to where I live, there's over 500 churches. Over 500 recognized either by their name or by their charter or by their building or whatever the case. I think I've shared this probably in other videos, other teaching lessons, but for many, many years I was a police officer. And the last couple of years that I was on the road as an officer, the little town that I was patrolling, the little town that I was taking care of, there were only about 500 people there, maybe just a little over 500 people. There were 23 churches in that one town. Okay, again, using the word to recognize a facility, all right? Because that's where our mind goes instantaneously. But what I want us to understand, where I want us to go in the context of this study and why I feel led to do it, is oftentimes not only do we not define words correctly in life, and this again is not to be argumentative, and this is not to be, hey, I'm smarter than everybody, because I'm not, and I don't ever want to be portrayed that way. I just watched a video yesterday of two different speakers, pastors, speaking to each other, and it was so discouraging. That's the only word I can think of that's presentable, because nothing that they said, nothing, and I mean not one word that they said encouraged anybody to follow Jesus. Not one. Okay? It was all about a battle of intellect. I know bigger words than you do. My degree is more prestigious than yours. I can speak more Greek than you can. And it's like, okay, you're missing the point here completely. And that's why I don't want ever making it simple to be that way. That is why I felt compelled years ago to start this program. And now, praise God, because of longevity and consistency and persistence, I guess, we're starting to gain some ground and people are starting to watch and listen to what we're doing. And again, I give all the glory to the Lord for that, because it is His church that will prevail. It is His church that will hold on, that will hang on, that will be the conquerors in the end, because it is then when we realize who we are, what we've been called to do, and why we matter, that things begin to change. See, when we merely get tied into a corner, painted into a corner based on an identity, we don't see the value in that very, very often. And so what we need to understand, we got to go back and look at the word. And that's why we're going to focus on that maybe for the first lesson or two, because The church is not the building. The church is not the denominational title or practice. Okay, we've become embattled in that world, especially in the confines of the church. We believe this; they believe that. We're closer to God because we've adopted this, or we've studied this particular person from another era, 100 years ago or 200 years ago or whenever, and that's what. Let's go back to what Jesus said, because again, if we're going to understand the principle of something, doesn't it make sense to go back to the foundation of that principle? If our faith is based upon the understanding of God, if our faith is based upon the principles and teachings and ministry and death and burial and resurrection of Christ, well, would it not make sense that he says, I will build my church upon this rock? What was the rock? We talked about that yesterday for just a moment. Faith. All right? And we'll talk into a little bit more about that today. So what was he saying in Matthew 16? When Peter, okay, so Peter and the disciples are standing there, right? They're having this conversation. And Jesus turns to them and he says, who do people say that I am? Again, now there was a specific reason for him asking this question in the manner in which he did. Okay, so it wasn't to get mere opinion, all right? And it wasn't to get all the gossip and scuttlebutt around town. What he wanted to see was where was people's heart, all right? And so the disciples responded. Some say John the Baptist, some say, Isaiah and Elijah and all the different prophets from the old, people having returned from the dead and all these different things like that. And then it got serious. Then it got pivotal, if you will, because Jesus then turned and says, but who do you say that I am? The reason that message is so important, friends, is it was personal, it was individual, because Jesus is saying, what do I mean to you? Who do you understand that I am? What have I revealed to you? What have you learned? What have you seen? What have you gathered that causes you to have a depiction, an illustration, an understanding, a belief in who I am? Not with what I've told you. What do you say? Who do you say that I am? Now that's important because, again, we all know how easy it is to formulate an opinion, right? Because again, that can be painted by a narrative in the news. That can be painted by a rumor. That can be all kinds. But what does something mean to me? See, because something or someone that has value to me may not have value to someone else. Okay, that belief that I hold on to, or that something that's really important to me, may not mean the same thing to someone else. That's why Jesus said, "Who am I to you? What do you say?" And Peter answered and he said, "You are the Christ. You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God." Wow, what an answer, right? Because not only was that the right answer, that's truly how he felt. Because that is what he saw. And Jesus said, "I'll say to you this, Peter, upon this rock." Because Peter, of course, at that time had been Simon, and now his name is changed to Peter, which means rock. And he says, upon this rock, based on what you just said, based on the faith that you just proclaimed, that you believe that. Not just accept that. There's two different things. There's a lot of things that we accept, but we don't believe it in the sense that it doesn't change our life. We just, that's what it is. No, you believe this. You accept me for who I am, he says, and on that, I will build And key words there, both of them. I, individually, singular. Follow me. Listen to me. I will. Okay, so all of those things are important when we look at the nature of what is the church, who is the church, and why does it matter. He says, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. What does that mean? Join me back tomorrow, and we'll talk further about what is the church, who is the church, and why it absolutely matters. God bless you, friends. I'll see you tomorrow.